Hello and welcome to another episode of The Woman in You with Zoe. This week, we welcome Habiba Balogun, who is an accomplished organization effectiveness consultant with a remarkable career spanning multiple continents and industries. She brings a unique perspective on leadership and empowerment. So join us as we dive into her extensive experience in banking, manufacturing, and education, and explore her insights on diversity, inclusiveness, and most importantly, effective leadership. She will share with us her journey, discuss the challenges women face in the workplace, and provide actionable strategies for overcoming barriers. Don't miss this inspiring conversation that aims to uplift and empower women everywhere. My name is Zoe Abubeduado. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to The Woman in You with me, Zoe Abubeduado. I've given you a brief overview of who my guest is today, and without wasting much time, I would love to speak to her because I'm really interested in knowing how this powerful woman has been able to achieve all that she's been able to do within her years. Thank you so much for joining us, madam.
Thank you, Zoe.
I was saying earlier to you that I read your profile and I was really impressed with what you've been able to achieve, and it's really amazing that a woman has gotten there. It inspires other young women to also do what you have been able to do. And I also read some reviews that people have put up on social media, and I must say that based on what they have said, it appears you're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us. But before we delve into your organizational bit, organizational effectiveness consultancy, can you tell us briefly something little about yourself?
Oh wow! So I don't know which angle to start from, but I define myself as an organization effectiveness consultant. So that just means I'm into performance improvement. So I help the people around me improve their performance, and I include myself in that. I also push myself to always improve my performance too. So I do executive coaching, I do training, consulting, cultural transformation, and I do it in public sector, private sector, and development sector. So that's really who I am. I'm also married with twin girls.
Whoa.
Who have grown and they're working now. And I'm part of a big family. So I think that's really...
You're Nigerian?
Yes, I am.
Born in Nigeria?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Cairo, actually, in Egypt.
Whoa!
Yes. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why my name is Habiba. You know, Habiba, Habibi, Habibi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Arabic,
so you grew
it's
up
an
in
endearment.
Egypt?
Just the first couple of years, my father was a diplomat. So I grew up in different countries. We were traveling every 2-3 years. We'd change country. And I had a natural gift for languages. So I loved languages, I picked them up. And then when I went to school, I studied those languages and ended up studying
French
languages at university. Yes, French and Italian.
And Italian?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so do you remember your formative years from Egypt? Where did you move to? Do you remember some of the countries?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So from Egypt, we came back home for a couple of years. That's home is Nigeria. Then we moved to England. I think that was the longest stretch.
Okay.
For about 5 years. Then Germany for 2 years. Then, very exciting, Cuba.
Oh.
Spent 4 years in Cuba. And then I went to boarding school, but my family continued on to Canada, and I was going to Canada for holidays. And then because I studied languages, I ended up living in France, living in Italy, and then in my adult life, spent some time in America, and so on. Yes. So I view myself as a global citizen.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And how were you able to manage with schooling? Because once you keep traveling in and out of countries, how were you able to move around that?
Yeah, so I think my parents managed that very well. For most of my siblings, they would, when it's time to do secondary school, they would go to boarding school at home, but it was never the right time for me. So I stayed with my parents for the longest in terms of education. No, I wasn't actually, but I said I come from a big family, so I was number 5.
Okay.
And I think I stayed with them in all the countries, and then when I was 13, they then put me in boarding school, so I would have some stability going into, you know, the important exams, and just continued from that trajectory. So my parents managed that very well. Yeah.
Was this boarding school in Nigeria?
No, it was in England.
England.
Yes,
Okay.
it was in England.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And do you have any food you love? I mean, traveling around the world, I'm sure you grew up learning your local language, because African parents, no matter where you find yourself, you still have to learn the language somewhat.
Yeah.
Was that a part of you?
Yeah. So I'm fortunate. So in my case, I was traveling around with my parents, and my father was a diplomat representing his country. So it doesn't matter which country you're in.
Okay,
As soon as you get home, you're now stepping into Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Nigerian food, Nigerian customs, Nigerian. And my parents were very Pan-African. In fact, my older brother was born in Accra. Yes, so he's in Nkrumah.
Oh, wow.
So very much a West African, culture that I grew up in, irrespective of where I was. So I learned about this duality and multiculturalism growing up. And of course, these days it's so important, which gives me an edge. Yes, it gives me an advantage. Yeah.
Wow. Right. And I can see you have a badge on, hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. Yeah. You were a lead advocate when over 200 girls were abducted in Nigeria, the Chibok girls.
Yes.
And you were very vocal about it. Why do you still have the badge on?
Okay, so, well, this was a tragedy for the whole world, right? That happened to happen in Nigeria. And at the time, my daughters had just finished boarding school in Nigeria.
Whoa.
And I just thought, it could be my daughters. And I said, and if it was my daughters, what would I do? Would I sit back and do nothing? And I said, no, those girls, I'm going to take them as if they are my daughters. Because if it happened to my daughters, I would want other parents to stand up and support me. And so we've been on that journey for 10 years now, from 219 initially. We're now down to 78, and that's why the badge is still on, because we've decided that until every single girl is accounted for, we're going to continue the advocacy to push the government to recover the girls. I have to say, all the governments in West Africa, and in fact, even East Africa is having the challenge, they now respond really, really fast when something like this happens. But unfortunately, we're seeing more and more attacks on schools and things like that. But we need citizens to play their role. Government should play their part. Citizens should play their part too, demanding from government, putting pressure on government that they play their role in providing security for their citizens and coming to our rescue when we are subject to criminal activity. Yeah.
What was the latest with the girls? You said 78 more, but those who have been rescued, what have their experiences been like? These are young women who had lives to live, who would have grown up to be where you are and even further, but their lives have been cut short by these abduction. What is the state of affairs when it comes to these young women who have been rescued?
Yeah, so it's really good news, okay? Number one, they were taken out of the hell that they were in, reunited with their parents. I know some parents had passed away, but for many, they were reunited with their families. The government took care of them, their health care, psychosocial, post-traumatic stress, put them in school. Some of them have graduated. We have some accountants, we have some lawyers. Ooh. Some of them are married now, with children. Yeah, they're still struggling. And some of them, not all of them went through the schooling system. Some of them opted to do vocational. Some of them said, look, I'm not going back to school. But at least they have agency in their own lives, right? Now they can determine for themselves what they want to do. And recently this year, after we marked the 10th year anniversary, they got together. Some of them were freed after 3 years, after 6 years, they got together. They've created their own foundation now. So they're seeking support. And they are going to help themselves because they all have different needs depending on what's going on in their lives. So they've really started to take control of their own lives, and we're very, very happy about that.
What role did you play in ensuring that these young ladies still find value in themselves and see themselves as going to make it in life? What role did you play?
I've never really thought about it that way. But now that you mention it, think about it, if it was you, because apparently when they were in captivity, their abductors used to tell them, there are some people looking for you. used to mock them that these people, they are calling saying bring back our girls, bring back our girls. They are not going anywhere, that sort of thing. Knowing that after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, after 4 years, after 5 years, there are people still looking for you. That would have a very strong psychological effect on you. And when they came out, the people didn't just abandon you. They asked after you, they made sure they were pressuring government to make sure you're looked after. If you need any support, they welcome you, they consider you their sisters, they consider you their daughters. You have a community of supporters. Also women, I mean, there are men in the movement as well, but led by women. I can imagine that probably had an amazing impact on them. And, rallying whatever support that we could for them, when they need it, we do that. But yeah, I could imagine it probably has had, but that was never the intention. It was more a movement to make sure that government meets its responsibilities to its citizens.
All right, you started this advocacy 10 years ago. That's quite a long time. How do you feel when you see young people, especially young women, now standing up to governments demanding what is due them or their rights?
Yeah. I feel very proud. When you grow up the way I did, traveling around the world, living in different countries, you see the way people are, citizens are, governments are in different countries. I don't think Nigerian government or Ghanaian government or any African government is worse than other governments in the Western world, developed world. But what I see, the role of the citizens is very different over there.
Okay.
They didn't grow up in a system under colonialism where the colonial masters, your government are oppressors, your government are exploiters. They didn't grow up in that system. They grew up in a system where the government is there to serve them. So they are used to service and they demand service. For us, we're only used to being oppressed and exploited. So African citizens don't really expect much or demand much from their governments. So seeing through these 10 years of advocacy, a lot of people have learned about their civic rights and the role of the citizen in any democracy or any system, even Chinese, even under communism or socialism. The citizen has a role to play if you want to have good governance. If you are just passive, sitting back, you're not going to get much.
Yeah.
So I have friends in England, in America, British or American, and they are writing, they are complaining, they are demanding. It's not easy for their local councilmen or congressmen. We have to step up and do more. When we do more, we'll get better results from our governments. I really believe so.
Whoa, great. Now I want to focus on what you do now.
Okay.
At what point did you realize that you can really do something in terms of organizational effectiveness? What piqued your interest or what pushed you into that space?
Yeah. I think it goes back a long way. It starts with parenting. So, I don't know. Look, that's not my field, but it starts with I had a mother and a father who considered all their children. They didn't consider them boys and girls. Yeah. So my mother treated all her kids the same.
The same.
My father expected the same, ambition, the same performance, delivery. He didn't think only my boys can do this or only my girls. No, I need something.
No gender roles.
No gender roles. No gender roles. We're treated the same, disciplined the same. No boyfriend, no girlfriend.
Oh.
The same. And that once you graduate, I'll educate you. Once you graduate, you are on your own, whether you're a boy or a girl. So it started from that. And then they were quite demanding. So when I got into the workplace, I was used to having pressure put on me and having to deliver. So it wasn't strange.
And which work?
My first job was working for Crédit Lyonnais. It's a French bank in Nigeria. And I was working for the general manager, who was a French gentleman, Mr. Dubois. And many people were running away from working with him that, oh, he's so unreasonable, he's so this, he's so that. So I went to work with him and he said, I need this. Before he can turn around, I have provided it. I need that. I do this. Done, done, done. Because at home, if you don't do done, 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 you are in trouble. So that thing of not making demands on your children, you're not preparing them for life. You really need to show them that they're capable. When they're in the home environment, give them responsibilities. So that helped me, and that set me up. So I found surprising that I was very different from other people simply because I had that attitude of, if somebody, a person in authority asks you to do something, get it done fast, get it done well, take responsibility, take ownership. So, that was how I started. And I was just learning, because when you study languages, humanities, you can learn anything. It just prepares your mind, it disciplines your mind, it trains your mind to be able to learn, to analyze, and things like that. So whatever you direct your attention to and you put in an effort, you'll be able to learn it. So I come from humanities, French and Italian. I find myself in a bank. I had to learn about banking. When I moved into manufacturing, I had to learn about mechanical engineering and sales. Every step of the way I had to learn. And then I still had this attitude of take ownership and get things done. And when I realized that that was a challenge for many other people, I thought, oh, this is what I want to do in my life. And then I went to do my master's in organizational management, which just taught me about transformation, advanced communication, all the things that you require to do this sort of work in performance improvement. And I haven't looked back since then.
At that time, you explained that most people found it very difficult working with your boss then.
Yeah.
How did he feel about you being able to deliver, others around you, and vice versa? How were others also seeing you in particular? Because you explained also that you were just delivering, doing what was expected of you. How were you being seen in the eyes of your colleagues or people you were working with? Because you stood out, you were different from them.
This is the first time I'm ever being asked this question. Okay, he loved me. He gave me more responsibility. He was a general manager. I went there for my national service. That's my first year there was my national service before I continued.
Okay.
I would go and represent the general manager in meetings. He would send me to represent him in meetings. How old was I? 22.
Wow.
23. And anything he asked me to do, because of my languages, Credit Lyonnais was an international bank. They had correspondence from other banks in other branches in South America or in France. He would give me the work to translate.
Wasn't that too much for you as a young lady then?
No, I would just learn it. If I didn't know it, I would learn it, and then I would do it. It didn't occur to me to say, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'll go and learn how to do it, and then I'll do it. That was just my attitude. Wow. Because who else is going to? They've asked you to do it, so you have to do it. So that was my attitude. And so I ended up, when you're working with CEOs as an executive assistant or so on, you see every aspect of a business or an organization. So you really become very strategic. And I responded well to that. And he looked at me and he said, you are good management material. And when the bank wanted to create its corporate affairs department, because before it was done centrally, right? Now wanted to create it in Nigeria. He said, I've got the right person to do it. And I became the pioneer head of corporate affairs for that organization for a multinational bank. I was 25 years old.
Oh.
So I've been in management since I was 25 years old. So I always look at people who think these young people are not capable of anything. And I'm thinking, you've got it wrong. Young people are capable of everything. As long as you prepare them for it and they are ready to take on the responsibility. Why are you waiting till somebody is in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s before you put them in leadership?
Wow.
I was in management from age 25.
So you heard that the young people are capable of doing whatever once they set their minds to do it. My guest today is Habiba Balogun, and I am really enjoying this conversation, and I trust you are too. We'll take a quick break. When we return, she'll be telling us more about her career and organizational management. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to The Woman in You with Zoe. My name is Zoe Abubedu Adu. I'm having a conversation with a powerful woman, very powerful. She is a woman of many colors, many tasks. She does a lot of things. She's spoken to us about her job in the banking sector, and she touched briefly on manufacturing. She also did something in education and oil and gas, I think. So we are going straight into our conversation again. So she tells us more about it. And then for those who manage organizations, I believe you want to stick around because she has a lot to tell us today. Welcome back.
Thanks, Zoe.
All right. So we ended on you talking about young people and they being capable of doing whatever they want to do. Now, you also worked a bit in education.
Yeah.
Education sector. Can you tell us briefly about that? And then oil and gas, if you could merge these two.
Okay. So because of this performance improvement, and remember I said whatever I didn't know, I would learn. So I was approached by somebody who was setting up a school. No, actually, the first thing that happened was I was approached by some people who were administering the oldest nursery school, international nursery school in Nigeria, which was in Lagos.
Okay.
It had been in operation since 1952, and they wanted me to take over to help them modernize it as a consultancy. And I said, fine. I said, I don't know much about education, especially early years education, but I know about how organizations should be run properly, structuring, modernization, using computers. I was a very early adopter of technology. So I went and did my research, found out about the curriculum. It was a British international school, so found out about the British curriculum, ratios, spacing, everything that you need to find out about early years, and modernized that school. And I also told them I would do it if they would allow my children, because I have twin girls, to attend the school, so I could then balance my work life and my home life, and that worked beautifully well. And then after that, I was asked, someone else was starting their own school and asked me to come and help them set up all the administration and all the supportive management systems of the school. So I did that again. That was a school that was primary going into secondary. And then with some parents, we set up our own prep school, preparatory school, which is now nursery, primary, up to secondary. Has just clocked 20 years as well. Again, always learning and consulting and renewing. So you don't have to be the expert. You don't have to do things yourself, but you have to make sure you know the standards and things get done. You know, and once you put systems in place, then you have sustainability. So that's for school education, and of course in higher education, I then became a trainer, educated myself, and went to school to do understanding about adult learning. And then when COVID came, again went back and learned about instructor-led virtual training, how not to just do what you do in person online, how online education for adults really should be done in a way that is effective. It doesn't have to be the same but on another platform, it should be different. So did that, pulled together a whole team of trainers and facilitators, trained everybody to do that. We did peer reviews on each other, so we all improved and then became masters. And it has been amazing, you know, to have that skill now when people are doing hybrid, even if they're not doing virtual all the way. So
what's the name of your school or the school you talked about?
Lagos Preparatory, what do I say now? Lagos Preparatory and Secondary School, yeah.
Okay, in Lagos.
In Lagos, in Lagos, yes.
Great. Now, I want to take you back a bit on young people and having the capacity to do or achieve what they want to achieve. Now, there are concerns that in our modern world, young people are pampered and most people are unable to deliver, especially when they get into the corporate space. They are unable to merge what they learn in school and face the realities in the work environment. Is this something that you have encountered in your years of consultancy?
Okay, so Zoe, you said you have heard.
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen experiences of people even on social media. I mean, people writing out that, okay, so you hire, especially national service, you bring people and you even do aptitude tests and they don't meet the mark.
Okay. So yes, I can accept that some people don't have the standard or the aptitude that you want them to have coming in. But I don't accept the other side, which is that they're pampered or they're lazy. I reject that completely. The younger people these days, and when I say these days, I think I can say for the past 7 to 10 years and going forward, they are different. Okay?
Very different.
So what is the purpose of life for them? So I'm not talking about for myself. purpose of life for myself was to learn to sustain myself and to give back to, look after your family, give back to society. Okay? The purpose of life for them is to lead a good quality life.
Yeah.
And for some of them, lead a good quality life means having a great lifestyle. Some of them will say to balling, you know, that sort of stuff, right? That is what life is about for them. So work is only an enabler to that.
Yeah.
So if they cannot see the link between the work they're doing and the life that they hope this work is supposed to provide, they're not motivated.
Yeah.
So that is the missing link, because employers are still thinking that they're employing people like me, which is, well, you grow up, you finish school, you have to go and work. You have to work. You have to work for what? To make money. Why do you want to make money? To rent a house, to maybe if you get married, have pay for your children's school fees, to look after your aged parents. So I need to have a job, even if I don't enjoy the job. That is not what we're dealing with now. If the job is not enabling me to lead the lifestyle that I want, why am I doing that job? I might as well stay at home and relax. So it's about the motivation. And employers have missed that completely.
And so what are some of the solutions you proffer? Because you're a consultant, so I wouldn't want you to go or give us everything, because people have to consult you for all these information. What usually do you prefer, solutions do you prefer to deal with such a situation?
The first thing, so that's why, you know, I've written a book.
Yes.
Okay, so that's
we'll come to that.
Yeah, that's what led to that, okay? Because I was talking to some of my colleagues and I was saying, how can we help employers understand? And I said, let's develop a course for them. Because I was doing it for my clients, maybe an executive team of 10 people, 20 people. You can't really make an impact in society with just those small numbers, right? So they need to understand, one, the motivation. What motivates Zoe will be different from what motivates Habiba. So if you are using one motivation, one compensation strategy, one talent management strategy for all these young people, it's not going to work. Because one of them wants to learn and to grow. The other one wants to have perks like gym membership and cable TV subscription, you know. And another one wants, I just want a regular job where I'm doing the same thing every day. Once I leave work, I don't have to think about work anymore, because I now want to spend my hours outside of work. Some other ones want to work with minimal hours. Some other ones want work with flexible hours. So you need to find out what motivates each one. And once you know what motivates each one, the one that you are able to do because of the type of work you do in your organization, you should be flexible enough to do it. Because some of them are saying no. Then some of them are saying, well, but if I give them flexibility or remote work, they don't do, they're just at home, they're not really working, productivity goes down. So what you're supposed to do is manage them for performance. What do you want them to deliver every day? What do you want them to deliver every week? What do you want them to deliver every month? Many employers can't tell you that unless they have a big HR department. So I haven't decided that I'm employing this person every day. This is what I want you to deliver for me. That's why I just want you to be in the office and I know you are there and I know you are working. It's not going to work with most of these young people. So you, the employer, have to sit back and think, for this role, what does this role have to deliver every day, every week, every month? And then if the role is delivering it, why does it matter to me where they're delivering it from? How they're delivering it? Am I getting what I want? So in answering this question, you can see that there won't be one solution for everybody, right?
Yes.
It will be a whole suite. Yeah.
But that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Having to manage different people, different talents. What about very huge organizations? How will an HR manager, for instance, deal with different people in different departments and organizations? That's really, really a lot of work.
Yeah, so that's where technology comes in. Okay. So if you're not using an HR information management system or what they call ERPs, these enterprise management systems, with self-service for your staff, then it's going to be too much work for a small to medium-sized business. There's no way. The big companies might be able to do it because they have a huge HR department, but that's not good use of their time. Instead of managing what each member of staff wants and likes and how they'll be motivated and how they want you to speak to them and how they want you to manage them and so on, you want to be managing their performance and their productivity.
Right.
So again, they can afford it. They use technology, employee engagement technology, HR management systems. You need to have that these days to be able to manage and offer that sort of customized, personalized engagement with each employee.
Yeah. What are some of the common issues you encounter in your line of consultancy?
Oh, okay. The most common one, West Africans.
Yes.
We respect elders. Elders disrespect
Young people.
younger people. Young employees are not ready for you to say what kind of rubbish work. That word rubbish. You might not see them at work tomorrow. They won't turn up. Many of them will not turn up the next day. You haven't insulted them. You just said rubbish. So that is the most common thing that I've discovered, is that we're used to, in our language, to try and correct people. We're quite harsh. Some people can even cross the line and become insulting, abusive, some of them bullying. And these younger people say they would rather stay at home than be treated badly, than spoken to badly by somebody. So that's the most common thing I see. And many of the supervisors and managers, they're nice people, supportive, kind, generous, all that sort of stuff. But they were trained to manage people a certain way.
Yeah,
in fact, their own bosses were so harsh on them. That's what motivated them to really, work hard and perform.
You have those people complaining when they are being treated that way, but once they get into management positions, you realize that they also give off the same energy.
Yeah, because they feel that training helped them become who they are, right? So it works for you. It's not going to work for millennials and Gen Zs. No way. It doesn't work. It's for them, it's demotivating. For us, it was like, I'm going to be so good that nobody will ever speak to me that way again, right? For them, it's like, no, I'm out of here. So that's the most common thing that I see. As West Africans, it's even in our culture, not to praise too much, because we don't want you to get a big head, or we don't want hide what you're good at, because you don't want other people's evil eye on you, and then use negative feedback to motivate. And that's the opposite of what young people these days want and need.
Great. So we're having a conversation with Habiba Balogun, and by now I'm sure you realize she's a woman of many talents, including writing a book. We'll be going into that shortly, but we'll take a quick break. When we come back, she'll tell us more about breaking the cycle, talent management in the new normal. She's spoken briefly about that, but she'll tell us what's in this book and probably where you can get some of this book to buy. Stay tuned. My name is Zoe Apube-Eduardo, and this is The Woman in You.
Bruce and I are colleagues going back a long way. So we were having a conversation about the problem with talent retention, talent attrition that my clients are confronted with. I asked him a question. I said, look, how can we break the cycle? What can we do about Japa? And we started.
She has several years of experience across the talent management space. She has written many books, and her name is Habiba Balogun.
This book is timely, and I think it provides very useful nuggets and frameworks and models which are useful not just in the private sector, the public sector, across board.
Hope you buy some books. Why did we write this book? We need to break this cycle. How can we stop this Japa syndrome?
And then her and I worked on a training. We said, okay, let's train people. And then she comes to me and says, no, let's all make a nice book.
Yeah.
Let's make it a book.
And that is how Breaking the Cycle, Talent Management in the New Normal was born. It's about strategies to address those three big syndromes: the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, and the Japa syndrome.
it's really exciting that you're all in the space where you can make the change that we all want to see.
Today's event was amazing. We had a lot of participation, a lot of passion.
It's down to our value systems, it's down to our culture, it's down to people understanding. There are just some big macroeconomic issues that has made living in Nigeria almost unbearable.
You're welcome back to The Woman in You with me, Zoe Abubedu Ado. My guest is Habiba Balogun. And we are going to talk briefly about her latest book and why every HR manager, even every employee, should get this and read. So you spoke to us briefly about why you wrote this book. Is it your first book?
Well, no, it's not. But it's my first management book. Yes,
Okay.
I've written other types of books.
So what are the other books that you've written about?
Well, I was a columnist in a newspaper called 234 Next.
Okay.
So I was doing social commentary. So I've got a book called Habiba's Habitat. And then I've helped other people write their biographies. I've helped publish their biographies. Most recently, I helped a judge publish commentaries on some legal issues. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, I keep getting amazed by the kind of things you keep doing. Really great there. So what informed breaking the cycle and talent management in the new normal?
yeah, so, you know...
Okay, I'm saying something about resignation.
Oh, yeah. So the Great Resignation.
Yes.
Quiet quitting.
Quitting and
Japa
syndrome.
I hear Ghanaians are really suffering from Japa syndrome
really
right now.
A lot now.
Yeah, so what happened was the future of work was predicted about 15 years ago, and everybody was saying the future of work will arrive 2030. And then COVID happened
Yes.
in 2020, and then the future of work just landed in 2020, 10 years faster than it was anticipated. And certain things happened around the world. And in Africa, we were not sure we would be affected. The first thing that happened was the Great Resignation. When the lockdowns happened and everybody had to go online, many employees were like, mostly in the Western world, I live somewhere very expensive, and now all my work is online. Why don't I, and I live in a tiny box, why don't I go and live somewhere else where for the same amount of money, I can live in a nicer place, bigger place, have nature around me, I'm still working online, right? So many people did that. And the employers who are not ready to support that, people just left. When the COVID lockdown was over and people realized during the lockdown that I don't really need a lot to survive, and your life can end at any time. And quality of life is more important than anything else. You know, in Africa, we have this saying, I cannot go and kill, I cannot go and come and kill myself, right? And they were saying, I'm killing myself for all these companies. And many of them, during COVID, they just let all their employees go. So this company I'm killing myself for, they don't even care about me. Not every company did it, but many did, right? So after COVID, many of them said, I am choosing quality of life. I am not choosing work. I will even take a pay cut for better quality of life. And they just started leaving their jobs, even without jobs, even without another job to go to. They started leaving their jobs. They said, I'll start doing what I enjoy doing. Okay, so that's the Great Resignation. And what can employers do about that? You're not leaving me for somebody who says they're going to pay you more money. You're not leaving me for, you know, they just left. And employers were like, I can't keep these people. Yeah, nobody's indispensable, but I need to have people to do the work. That was the first thing. Those who didn't leave and stayed, they said, I cannot come and go and kill myself. So they said I should work from 9 to 5. That's my contract, right? I'll be there at 9. No more getting there early at 7 a.m. to do some work. By 4:45, I'm packing my table. By 5 o'clock, I'm gone. And I will not answer work calls after 5 p.m. And weekends, forget about it. And for some roles, you need to do more than, you need to spend more hours than 9 to 5 to finish, to finish all your responsibilities. But they said, no, they're not doing it. And that phenomenon is called quiet quitting. So they are still working for you, but no more discretionary, no more discretionary effort, none. And that's the good one, that while I'm there, I'm working. But once I'm gone, leave me alone. That's the good one. You also have the ones who, okay, you want me to be in the office, Abby?
So I'm here.
I'm here, but they are doing their side hustle. Their mind is somewhere else. You're not getting productivity out of them. Their bodies are there, and that is it. So that's the phenomenon called quiet quitting. And a lot of the employers were like, I'm not getting anything from these young people. They are there and not producing results. When we need them to work extra hours or weekends, they're not ready. What is going on? So one, I can't keep them. The ones I've kept, I'm not getting what I want from them. And then Japa syndrome happened. So Japa syndrome is the mostly companies in the global north needed more talent, more staff, employees, and they couldn't find them in their own environment.
Yeah.
So the demand, they turned to the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
The demand for workers from the Commonwealth increased from there. And then here you have employers, cost of living is going up, they can't pay you more, insecurity, so many things. They started just going, especially in healthcare,
nurses,
technology,
doctors,
and education.
Yeah.
And so it was, if you have really good staff in Nigeria or Ghana, really good staff, you cannot compete. You're now competing with companies in Canada, in England, in America, in Australia. You cannot compete in terms of how much they're going to pay them for the same job. And you also had some who, they didn't have to travel there, but they were getting jobs over there, remote jobs over there. So they're not ready, you can't. So we had a talent crisis. And the managers are still trying to solve this talent crisis using the old methods. They did not get it. And then we've talked about the generational shift, right?
Yes.
I want quality of life. I'm not working to live, right? Said, we need to explain this to people. So we decided to put a course together to explain it. And then after the course, I said, these employers, they are tough. If we don't provide evidence, they won't believe us. So we now created an assessment. And I said, now, talent management is not only HR that does talent management. Before the staff has a problem with their supervisor or their manager, before HR gets involved, they've already left. The staff has already left before HR gets involved. So talent management is now done by the line, by the supervisors. So they need to understand how to do talent management.
Whoa.
So I said, okay, and they're not HR people. So let's create some tools for them that they can start using. Once you've educated them, they've seen the evidence, we've educated them, let's give them some tools so they can start managing their talent differently immediately. And then by the time we put it all together, we said, this is enough for a book.
Wow.
So we put it together. So I was working with a colleague of mine. His name is Bruce Prince. He's a modern applied psychologist and a management consultant. We've worked together over the years. So we put the book together, and that's the reason why.
Wow, fantastic. So the book is Breaking the Cycle, Talent Management in the New Normal, Strategies to Tackle the Great Resignation, Quiet Quitting, and Japa Syndrome. In Ghana, where can we get this to buy?
WPG Bookshop.
Okay.
And it's also available on all the online bookshops. Yeah.
Okay, so
WPG Bookshop in Accra.
In Accra. Yeah. All right. So Habiba Balogun and Bruce Prince, and I must say that this is really interesting and will help a lot of people, especially as you said, it's not only for HR managers but line managers as well. Have you gotten any feedback from what you've done? Because you work internationally, I believe, not only in Ghana and Nigeria. Yeah. Do you do consultancy for other firms internationally?
Yes.
What has been one of your most, how do I put it, feedback that has really made you feel like, okay, so I'm doing something great. I love what I'm doing. Is that one thing that has really made you feel that, yes, we're getting it right? Or just say a few experiences?
Honestly, I really don't know. From the
I believe you get positive feedback every day.
Well, we always evaluate and get feedback from our clients every time, because that's how we'll know whether we're on the right track or not. But yeah, we get feedback from the organizations that we go back and they tell us, 3 months after, what has happened since this intervention? Everything has changed. In fact, yes, I had a client just last month. So you'll be interested in this one. He said for the first time in that company, because it's got blue collar workers, wage earners. For the first time in that company, that month, they did not deduct any penalties from anybody's pay since the company
Whoa.
started.
Wow.
They said for the first time in their history, the payroll ran and everybody, all the employees got their full salary. And they said, why? Because the managers now knew how to manage their staff properly for performance, not managing them that, okay, no problem, you'll see. I will sanction you. So that was amazing feedback that I got last month. But most of the feedback I'm getting, the employers is like, whoa, they're at a loss. Because you're asking them to change their worldview, almost,
their way of
right?
life. And
HR is like, can we talk to the board? Because we need support from the board before they will help us. We've proposed flexible working so many times. They said no, without considering that no, it will only offer it for people for whom it can work for us. Not, can you talk to the board? Where I've gotten the most feedback on all of this is from these millennials and Gen Zs. They're like, you get it.
yes, you understand.
Fine, you understand.
They
don't understand. They don't understand us.
Yeah.
Finally, we're not lazy.
Yeah.
I get the most response from them. HR is saying, we need you to talk to our executive team. We need you to talk to our board. And the employers are like, we need executive coaching. Because I don't know any other way of being. Yeah. I don't know any other way to manage. It's very, very, very difficult. Yeah, so we have a lot of work to do.
Finally, before we wrap up this conversation, what advice do you have for young professionals, especially women, in their career and in their way of life, their view of or the way of thinking? What advice would you give these young people to stay in their jobs, handle it as it ought to be? And what advice would you also have for HR managers, line managers as well, to be effective so everybody's on the same page, everybody smiles as you go home?
Yeah. What I'll say to the young people first is that I wish we were, in my generation, were as courageous as yours.
Yeah.
You are asking for things that we never dared ask for. And you're asking for things that are going to make our quality of life better. Even us older ones, we're learning from them about how to lead a better quality life. So that's the first thing. So thank you. First thing I'll say. Second thing I'll say is that the sort of flexibility you want, you can only get it if you're a performer. So master whatever it is you say you want to do. Master it. And there's no excuse anymore. You can get free online training. There's so much free learning. You can use AI to train you for free, coach you for free on anything you want to learn. Become an expert. Become a master in anything you want to do. Once you're good at what you do, people will be ready to pay you what you're asking for and to give you the flexibility that you want because they're sure that you can deliver results. And always keep your word or come back and negotiate. Don't run away and hide if things go wrong. Keep your word. I said I'll give it to you by 12 o'clock today. Give it to them by 11:55 today. Or come back at 11:45 and say there's a problem. Don't
Feedback.
run away. Become dependable and reliable. And the world is your oyster. So that's my advice to the young people, right? And to the older people, honestly, you need to sign up for coaching. You need to sign up for training in communication skills, especially giving feedback, especially how to give feedback, constructive feedback. Don't assume that you know how to do it. You've been communicating, you didn't get to where you are, by not knowing, by being stupid or by not knowing. No, it's not about that. The skill set needed has changed. Okay, the power dynamic, they don't look at you as the boss anymore. They look at you as their client. You are one client, and if I'm not happy with you as my client, I'll move to another client. And you need them.
Yeah.
You need their talent, you need their energy, okay? So get some training on communication skills, especially giving feedback. Get a coach if you are a big boss or a minister or whatever, and you don't want to be in a class. Yeah. Get a coach so you can get this training one-on-one, and respect these young people. They are much more talented than we. they are all working harder than us, so, because they're all multitasking. They all have side hustles. It's not just one job. They're doing several, right? And they're still going out with their friends and enjoying themselves.
Right.
Their network is huge because they have friends of people they know, they've met, and many people they've only met online.
It's as if they have more than 24 hours in a day.
They're an amazing resource
Yeah.
for you if you can just find the right way to engage with them.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on this show. But if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
So just look for me, Habiba Balogun, Habiba Balogun. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all the platforms. Just message me, and then we'll exchange email addresses, phone numbers, and we'll be in touch. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. I wish I could say thank you in your language.
Yeah, Avo.
Avo.
Yes.
Thank you, Avo.
And how can I say thank you in Twi?
In Chi.
Yeah.
Medase.
Medase.
So thank you so much for being a part of the show today. It's really been an interesting one, and I really loved today's conversation. For young women out there, I believe that her life is an example to you, and you've picked one or two from her. Get in touch with her. For organizations as well, you can get in touch with her if you need that organizational shake-up or to see a change in the way things work within your company. My name is Zoe Abube-Eduardo, and it's been a pleasure hosting the show. Thank you so much, and see you on our next episode.